Piaget's cognitive development. Now, according to Piaget, well, of course, almost a powerhouse in developmental psychology. So according to Piaget, cognitive growth takes place in developmental stages. The nature and makeup of intelligence change was significantly over time. Let's take a look at some characteristic of these stages. Right? So look at the first one here. The difference between stages are not of degree, slow or fast learner, but of kind the quality, okay, not the quantity. Each stage is a system of thinking that is qualitatively different from the preceding stage. So compared to the preceding stage, a quantum leap, okay, a quantum leap forward, a breakthrough. All right. So the content of each stage determines the way we understand and the way we make sense of our experience, or rather say the child makes sense of what his or her experience. Now, but then look at second. The stages are sequential and follow an invariant sequence. So it is impossible to skip a stage or bypass a stage. Sufficient time is needed to allow the children to internalize the experience encountered before they can move on. So they have to do that, okay? Internalize those experience encountered. Now, number three, these stages never exist in a pure form. Okay, perhaps at the very beginning. Okay, at stage one. Okay, now overlaps occur. That is to say, bits and pieces of other stages will also be present. Let's take a look at this here. Here, towards the end of stage one, see the overlap here. You will see what bits and pieces of stage two occurring, okay? Stage two occurring. And at the beginning of stage two, we will see bits and pieces of stage one still occurring. And same one between stage 3 and 4. If I did not draw 4 here, but I think you get the idea, you get the idea. All right, so let's take a look at Piaget's stages of intellectual development. Now, before we do that, let's take a look at Piaget's research methodology. He used the clinical approach. He obtained his information from repeated naturalistic observations. That is to say, there's no controlled environment. Okay? For example, he asked children questions. Okay? He asked children to draw pictures and drew conclusion, and tested the conclusion again and generated new test, okay, to make sure the conclusions he arrived at should be okay. So no experimental design and therefore no statistic to report, as he based his theory largely on observation done on his own 3 children. All right? So he basically observed his own children intensively, okay, throughout a long period of time, and we could say that he was conducting longitudinal study with his own 3 children. All right. Of course, later on, a lot of large-scale studies have been done to obtain results supporting Piaget's theory. All right. Now let's take a look at Piaget's four major stages of cognitive development. All right. So now, most of you, I think most of you have learned quite a bit of Piaget's theory in your first year. Is that right? So first year, that's called sensory motor. Okay, the child begins to interact with the environment. Okay, from 0 to 2, then 2 to 7. So you have to memorize the age range, okay, for each stage. Okay. Stage 2, pre-operational stage, the child begins to represent the world symbolically because of the development or the acquisition of language. Okay? I use the word acquisition. Later on, you will see that one. Remember last time, Chomsky and versus Skinner, and Chomsky insisted that we human beings, we are endowed with the language acquisition, innate language acquisition mechanism, right? So we are born with it, right? So genetically, we are born with it. So that's good. So 0 to 2, 2 to 7, and then 7 to 11. So I remember stage 3 is 7, 11. Okay, so I could figure out the rest of them. Concrete operational state, the child learns rules such as conservation. I will show you what that is. Okay, and then from about 12 years onward, it's called formal operational stage. The adolescent can transcend the concrete situation and think about the future, or think about materials that are abstract. Okay, so they want the mind, the cognitive growth has reached such a stage that a child is capable of abstract thinking. All right, so let's take a look at each stage. All right, stage 1 got sensory motor experience. It's from birth to 2 years. So at this stage, cognitive activity is based primarily on immediate experience through the 5 senses. Through the 5 senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching. Interacting, of course, with the environment. You see, you're interacting with the environment. So they learn through their senses. Right? Now, at that time, remember at that time, early on, baby you can say babies like sucking. Whatever you give to the baby will suck. All right? Well, actually, the baby is using his or her mouth to explore the environment or explore whatever you give the baby. And I still remember my other boy, he would suck on the rail along the crib. Right? It is just to explore. That's how they will learn. They learn through the sense at first, learn through the mouth. All right. So sensory So here, you know that it is learning through the interaction of the senses and the environment. Right. Because at that time, you know that before the onset of language or before the acquisition of language. Okay? So no language is used to label or symbolize events and ideas. Okay, so mental organization is very primitive. And so we say that sensory experience is private and uncommunicative. Okay, private and uncommunicative. Each baby is imprisoned in in her own separate cognitive world, or in his own separate cognitive world. Now, since language is not used at this stage to label or symbolize events and ideas, children are dramatically tied to the immediate experience and hence strongly affected by their immediate environment. Right? So mental organization is very primitive if it exists. So responses are almost completely determined by the situation. Right? At this stage, the quality of experience is unusually significant. See, that's what and how the child learns will remain an immediate experience, as vivid as any first experience. So therefore, each experience is of importance to growth, because they slowly build up. All right. So in this, at this stage, it is good to It is good to repeat the stimuli. For example, it is a good idea when the mother is changing the diaper for the baby. The mother should verbalize what she is doing. Okay, now I'm putting you down here. Okay, I am unbuckling the dirty diaper. It doesn't smell good. Okay, I'm not taking it off, and I'm not cleaning your bottom. I'm putting a fresh new diaper in, and I'm now taping it snugly around your belly. That type of thing. So you repeat that every time. Okay, so that is good. At first, the child may learn all this, and then and you impart a sense of security to the child. Is that right? So every time is the same. So try to verbalize whatever you are doing to the child. Okay, so that is good, because that is stimulating hearing and coordinated with seeing. Okay, all right. Now, then to give you an idea of how easily children at this stage are bound by experience and can be victimized by it. Now, let 6-month-olds follow an object with their eyes. This is called the visual pursuit. They will follow the object back and forth 50 to 100 times. Don't try it on your younger brother or on your on the younger siblings or your cousins and things like that. Okay, all right. So so 50 to 100 times, they literally, the babies cannot take their eyes off the moving object, because this is the first, even though it happened the first time they have seen an object move from side to side. Right? So this is what the famous experiment by Piaget called visual pursuit. So this is an example to show you that responses are almost completely determined by the situation. All right. Then the development of visual pursuit is the prerequisite for learning a very important concept called object permanence. That is to say, the child can understand that when an object disappears from view, it still exists, even though it cannot be seen. Say, Piaget's experiments say this is what an object, say a bunch of keys, and then put it under, put it here. We use a cup, covering up the keys, the bunch of keys, and then tell the baby, all gone. Okay. At first, sometimes the baby will cry, but then if you do that often, okay, the baby realizes, yeah, it is still there. Okay. Now that is good because when the when the baby was very young, when the mother puts the baby under the crib, okay, and then they try to rock the baby to sleep, and then try to leave the room, baby will cry. Okay, mother is gone, mother won't come back. Okay, now, but then it takes time, takes several months. Okay, then and the baby begins to realize that yes, mother is gonna cannot see her, but she will come back. All right, she will come back. So that is to say, object permanence, right? Understanding that is still there. Okay, even though they cannot see it. Now, lacking visual experience. Remember we discussed critical period. Okay, lacking visual experience during the critical period of sensory motor learning prevents the growth of mental structure. So you see here the interaction of the senses with the environment enable us to grow. Okay, so children who have and developed the concept of object permanence know that this appearance is only temporary. And others were liberated from endless visual pursuit. Where is mother? So they are not believed to be capable of some representational thought. So that is to say, mommy is not gone forever. All right? No. Nursery school. Remember nursery school? Have you been, have you actually sent, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old to the nursery school? The first few days, okay, the baby, especially young babies, they cry, okay, thinking that mother abandoned them, okay, that type of thing. But then after sometimes a week, some babies it takes them 2 weeks, okay, they'll stop crying. They have learned that mother is gone, but mother will come back. I know that, okay, that type of thing. All right. Now, so at this stage, sensory motor, okay, a rich, responsive sensory environment is the best means of developing the young child's intelligence. Right? So I suggest, and also, of course, based on reading a lot of materials, and also remember Burton White, okay, decorate the baby's room to provide for rich stimulation. And then remember potential, you want the crib toys are for the baby, not for the adult. Okay? When adults see the crib toy, oh, it's beautiful, and this is not a good toy. Make sure the baby is lying here, supine and looking upward. Okay, so make sure that it is for the baby, not for the adults. All right. So decorate the baby's room to provide for rich stimulation. Parents want interaction with the baby, provide for a responsive sensory environment. All right. So this is this is important, to remember that. All right, so let's take a look here. Stage 2. Okay, so intuitive, or also called preoperational thought, or preoperational stage 2 to 7. Okay, the capacity to develop representational thought and mental images increases dramatically, because remember we talked about Benjamin Bloom's one learning curve, that is also the cognitive growth curve. See, at the beginning, you see it's rising steeply. Okay? By the time 5 or 6 years old, it begins to level off. Right? So 2 to 7, the first few years here, the growth curve is steep. Right? So you see here, there is a major breakthrough in the use of language. Remember here, once the child has mastered learnings, mastered walking, that is at about age 2, okay? The next phase of development, we'll see an explosion of language acquisition, all right? So this is the major breakthrough in the use of language. Example, the average 2-year-old understands between 200 and 300 words, while the average 5-year-old understands about 2,500 words. See, an enormous increase in the curve, very steep, okay, very steep. Now, the predominant learning mode at this stage is intuitive, right? Unlearned, intuitive. Pre-operational children are not overly concerned, okay, with precision, but delight in imitating sounds and trying out lots of different words. Example, they are, as I mentioned before, hysterically funny over bathroom language, okay, or bathroom languages. Right? Now, the disadvantage of the intuitive mode is is that children, the advantage of the advantage of the intuitive mode is that children are capable of free associations, fantasies, and illogical thinking, illogical meaning. They are They are dreamers. Okay? Illogical thinking. So, for example, after seeing Superman or Supergirl, they would run along a tower that I could fly. If you let them do that, they will try that. They go to the cliff and then try to fly down the cliff. Of course, you don't let them do that, but then they think they could do that, okay? Because they are dreamers, okay? Because they are dreamers. But then take a look here. Intuition and free associations, they are They are basic ingredients of creative thinking. We know that now. Okay? So basically, intuition allows us to break out of the constraint imposed by reality. Right? The spontaneous nature of a child's language, for example, like it is intuitive. Okay, say what? Parents and the toddler sitting inside the bus. And the toddler say, "Hey, Daddy, Mommy, look at that dumb face sitting next to you." They don't care. Okay, this is an example of a child's intuition. Right? It's completely unconstrained by the situation, by the environment. Now, Piaget used the term collective monologue. Okay, collective monologue to describe the finding that children seem to talk at rather than with others. That is to say, they were, for example, to talk mostly to hear themselves talk. For example, talk to a tree, talk to an imaginary friend, talk to the teddy bear, talk to the doll, that type of thing. They like talking, trying out languages, okay? All right, now, the reversible nature of relationship is not understood. Is not understood at this stage of mental operation. I will show you a bit later on. Okay, so to some, at this stage, the system of thinking is creative and intuitive. It is the beginning of symbolic thinking, with ideas replacing concrete experience. Children can now share their cognitions socially through language as a communication channel. Right? Now, but then what? The notion of reversible nature relationship is not understood. For example, you ask a girl, have you got a sister? The answer, yes. Then you ask, and has your sister, has she got a sister? And then the answer will be no, she hasn't got a sister. I am my sister. That type of thing. Okay, so you know what I mean. Okay, it is kind of very intuitive, and then but then they don't understand they don't understand reversible nature of relationship, and they don't understand conservation. Let's take a look at some diagrams. Okay, it is a long thing, so I have to use the what is it, the landscape mode. Anyway, take a look here. Okay, say two beakers with exactly the same level of water, same amount of water, and then the experimenter pour one beaker of water onto a narrow but tall cylinder. Okay, cylinder. They ask the child which one has more water. Look at the child, simply because it is here it is taller than 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 the glass. I use big, but then it's glass. Okay, because it is taller. So the child will say, well, this one has more water than this one, even though at the beginning, two of them they have the same amount of water. Right? Let's take a look at the next one here. Okay, it is quite intuitive. Okay, all right. Okay. Let me move it here. Okay, all right. So situation A. You have examiner's block and the child's block here. Okay. Well, the pre-operational child is likely to say the rows having the same number of blocks because the rows are equal in length. So the blue and the red. No, is that red? The photocopy did not capture the right color. Anyway, let's say it's red. Right, so that's good. All right, that's good. Now, take a look here. The examiner's block, the same number, okay, same number, okay. But then the child's block here, as you see, is placed each one is further apart from one another than the blue blocks. Okay, than the blue blocks. Now, you see here, the pre-operational child may say the examiner has fewer blocks because that row is shorter. Right? And they don't know to count at that time to verify. All right. So that is they cannot they just use one dimension. They only pay attention to a single dimension. And the longer it is, the more it is. Okay, that type of thing. All right. And you will also see later on that when we discuss what Piaget's moral like children's morality, a sense of morality. All right. So let's take a look at this here. All right. Now, conservation of mass. Okay, let's take a look at here. All right. Now, conservation of mass here. The experimenter what presents two balls of clay, very similar, and then you see here the experimental one rolls one ball into a longer sausage and asks the child whether they still contain the same amount of clay. Okay, so of course, what the child will point to, no. Okay, no. This one has more. Okay, this one has more, right? So that's the kind of mentality at that time, the kind of thinking, all right? So take a look at now here, while elementary age children tend to think about what is, adolescent tend to think about what might be, right? What might be the probability, right? Children at this stage tend to stick to one strategy of thinking. For example, 9-year-olds stick to one strategy. Okay, say in a game on win or lose. Well, you know that for adults, we know that if you lose, you change or you shift strategy. Is that right? We do that. Okay, 15-year-olds on the other hand, they change strategy to maximize reward. Right, that type of thing. So let's take a look at stage 3. Concrete operations or concrete operational. 7-Eleven, right? Remember that? 7-Eleven, that's stage 3. And and of course, then stage 4 is from about 12 onward. And then before that is 2 to 7. It's Century Motors 0 to 2. So remember those ages. It's good. It's good to remember them so that we understand a lot of stuff later on. Okay. So at this stage, magical thinking, fantasies, free association, and intuitive thinking are abandoned. Okay? Children at this stage understand functional relationships. They understand They understand the specific or concrete aspects of the problem, specific but concrete. Okay? And they are logical, but stubbornly adhering to rules they are taught. They think that they treat rules as given laws that cannot be changed. Okay? And adults understand that rules are a system of regulations that can be replaced by another system. But children see them as fixed, as necessary and arbitrary. They are literal-minded thinkers. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, isn't that nice? Okay, you said we could paint anything we wanted to. All right. So you see, did you do this when you were at this age? Anyway, all right, let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look. Now, at this time here, they understand They understand conservation. They understand classification. They can classify. Okay, seriation. That is to say, they understand numbers. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 is after 2, okay, 1 is before 2, that type of thing, okay, and the seriation. And they know, of course, they have learned how to deal with one numbers, okay, because they can count, and hence they know how to measure, okay. Now, schooling at this stage is generally successful. Okay, it's generally successful when it emphasizes skills and concrete activities. Okay, for example, learning how to fiddle, learning how to swim, learning how to hit a baseball, that kind of thing. Okay, well, let's take a look here. Okay. Learning baseball, for example, playing baseball, playing basketball, soccer, whatever, okay, swimming, especially music, okay, learn fiddle, play piano. How do all these activities help the child? Okay, help what cognitive growth. Okay. All right, let's take a look. Let me give you an example of what, say, baseball. Okay, I think most of you like baseball, North American sport. Okay, most of you play baseball. Is that right? Okay, let's take a look here. Let's say you want to bat the ball. You're here, and the pitcher over there. Once the ball leaves the hand of the pitcher, you have only about 1 second, depending on how fast the ball is, traveling toward you. You have about a second to make decisions and to organize the movement of your body so that you can hit the ball. See, the ball's coming here. Now, look at all the parameters. Okay, if the ball is coming this way, you will have to step toward here. And when to swing the bat, at what angle, okay, when to swing it at what angle. Now, to swing the ball, you know that you have to twist your body and then do it like this. All of these here, you have to make decisions within a second. Sometimes a split of a second if the ball is coming at you fast. And your body, you have to coordinate your body to fit whatever you think. Whatever you think. When to move the bat, at what angle, how fast. There are a lot of parameters, and you have to think fast. You have to tell your body that the thinking and body movement, kinesthetic movement, they have to be coordinated in order for you to hit a ball. Now, which school subject, which school lesson will teach you this? Okay, so it is therefore it is you can see the importance of at this stage here. Just learn concrete activities, play ball. Okay, so much is involved. Is that right? Say basketball. Okay, now we have Raptors, basketball. For example, the ball is coming this way, and you have a whole bunch of morons surrounding you. Each one of them, they are aiming at getting the ball. How can you get the ball before they do? So you will have to estimate the ball will land here. But there is a moron in front of you. Pardon me, I use the term, but just try to make it funny. Okay, you may have to find a way to get around this person and get a ball. And then when to jump. Okay, when to jump. And then how to get around. Perhaps you just do this, okay? Okay. Give the person a jump. Get out. Then you go here, and you have to time it to jump. All of this here Okay, you have to estimate where the ball will land. When are you going to to kick this person out of your way and move into position when to jump to get the ball, that type of thing. Right? So within a second, let's say, not a split of a second, within a second, you would have to make all these decisions, and you have to coordinate that kinesthetic movement so that you could jump and get the ball. Right? No school subject, no lesson will teach you this. Right? So now you look around the world. Okay, a lot of let's say CEOs and important positions. A lot of them were those leaders and those CEOs. A lot of them they were athletes, right? They were athletes, or when they were young, they organized this or that, that type of thing. They had a fresh start, early fresh start. So let us take a look here. Is that it is a good idea. It is a good idea to take the child to soccer, to hockey. Hockey is fast, right? Hockey, all kind of games, or board games, card games. Okay, and music is important because music will rejuvenate your brain. Okay, those people who are good in music, they're likely to be good in math and science, okay, something like that. And music has a very strong potential to change a person. Let's say from from weak to strong, from bad to good, that type of thing. Okay, have you heard of musical therapy? Okay, so it is. So this stage is very important. But then, let's not move too fast into formal education. Eh? Learning that involves abstract thinking will be deemed a failure because the child could only deal with concrete things. Well, the ball coming this way, it is real, right? So they are not ready to deal with abstract materials. So the best way to help them develop cognitively is to let them learn how to play ball, play sports, music, and other games. Okay, and you will see that Erik Erikson say at age 4 he calls it the play age. Okay, so it is important for us to remember that let's not move into formal education too quickly. All right, so it is we should understand the stage of development. Okay, all right. Stage 4, formal operations. Okay, formal operation from 12 onward. Okay, 12 onward. So some start at 11, some start at 12, some start at 15 or 16, that type of thing. Okay, but then in general, it's about 12. So let's take a look at the characteristics of formal operation. Here, possibilities and hypothesis testing. Excuse me. Logical evidence will be examined before reaching a conclusion. Hypotheses are generated, and the possibilities of a certain outcome are anticipated. You see, all of these are all of they belong to abstract thinking. and development of metacognition, meta, okay, that is the ability to think about their own thinking. You are thinking about your own thinking and the thoughts of others. Okay? So ideas can be tried out in the mind to reach insight without actually what? Needing to test each solution in concrete reality. Okay? See here, a major leap forward. Okay? All right. So children at this stage can talk to themselves. So while they are solving problems, they talk to themselves. And then what a process, it's called what? Internal dialogue. Okay, to analyze the problem at hand. Okay, they will what? Talk to themselves. Oh, if I move this here, I will get this, that type of thing. And a lot of adults are still doing this, okay? And of course, older people, they do that very often. Okay, my mother is still doing that. She's 93 now. Yeah, 93 years old. She's doing a lot of this, talking to herself. Okay? A lot of times I thought she was talking to myself. What? No, I'm not talking to you. All right. So start enlarge to what perspective of others. Now, it's no longer what? It's no longer egocentric, right? So the awareness that different people have different thoughts about the same idea or same situation. So they begin to build this awareness. Right? So now, not all people are operating at the formal operation. Not all people are operating at stage 4. If their encounters with the environment did not reach this stage, okay? They are still egocentric, okay? But then more normally, children operating at at this stage 4, and adults, okay, operating at stage 4, they are no longer egocentric, okay? They can take the perspective of other people. All right. So let's take a look at what the comparisons between concrete operations and formal operations. Take a look here. Right. Number one, okay, thought for concrete operations, thought limited to here and now. Here and now, the reality. Okay. They can't deal with abstract material. But then for formal operation, thought extended to possibilities. Possibilities mean it is abstract. You would have to, you would have to think about that, evaluate everything to come up with the possibilities there, right? Number two, problem solving dictated by the details of the problem. Details of problem, concrete, right? Concrete. Problem solving for formal operation governed by planned hypothesis testing. If I hit my younger brother now, my mother will that type of thing, right? So you don't have to act out, you just think, right? Just think. You can anticipate the result. Okay? If you beat up your younger siblings, start limited to concrete objects and situation, concrete operation. But then in formal operation are quantum leap forward. Okay? Thought expanded to ideas as well as concrete reality. They could tackle both. Okay. Now, number 4 here, egocentric thought. Egocentric thought is focused on one's own perspective. Okay. Then formal operation does thought enlarge to perspective of others. Okay. So that is called perspectivistic thought. they're capable of doing this perspectivistic stuff, right? So these are the 4 stages of what Piaget's 4 stages of Piaget's cognitive development. All right. Now, let me summarize this before I come to this. Okay, the more active the symbolic process, the more it enhances cognitive growth. Is that right? For example, writing poems is more effective than reading poems. Making films is far more effective than viewing them. So let's take a look at the educational implications of Piaget's theory. Okay? Intellectual growth depends on what? On activity. Brain power is not fixed at birth. Okay? Remember what Nancy Bailey, the Berkeley Growth Study. Okay? It is the function of appropriate activity during any particular stage, appropriate activity. Right? Children must engage in appropriate activities to learn. Okay? So in this way, we see that intelligence and activity. Intelligence affects the kind of activities children engage in, and then activity will also nourish intelligence, make it grow. So it is a two-way street. Right, so therefore go back and remember John Dewey's notion of active learning. Right? That is to say, active learning by doing. Learning by doing. All right, so this is Piaget's stage theory. Okay, so I will stop here. I will continue with this one in my next video. All right, so let us